Thank you very much for listening to this week's talk on the Sedra of Tetze, the sixth Sedra in the Book of Devarim. And we are in the we are approaching the second Shabbos in the month of Elul. And when you look at the content of the mitzvahs that are described in this week's Sedra, the highest number of mitzvahs in any Sedra. We have 54 Sedras in the Torah and 613 mitzvahs in all of these Sedras. And we have 74 mitzvahs inside this one Sedra of Kiseitse. And there are 27 mitzvahs saseh and 27 mitzvahs that require us to carry out an act, and 47 mitzvahs lo saseh, 47 prohibitions. And so thinking about that, I think that we can really see that there's almost a sort of a health MOT, a spiritual health MOT. And for all that, we have a very deeply spiritual connection with the Torah, with Hashem, understanding that the Torah is Hashem's wisdom and the way that he communicates that wisdom to us. Yet if we look at the content of the mitzvahs in general, and certainly the huge array of mitzvahs that we find in this week's Sedra, they are actually very practical, dealing with down-to-earth matters. Wouldn't necessarily associate the content of the mitzvahs with this high spiritual in the clouds type of philosophy. There are very, very practical actions and prohibitions that really make up the core. And I think that when we look at all of these actions that we're either required to do or prohibited from doing, we can see that the path that the Torah is guiding us to is that our spiritual refinement comes from carrying out physical actions. And you can see, if you want to look at the broad headings of the mitzvahs in Kiseitse, they cover conduct in war, they cover in employment, how you have to pay your hired worker on time, and forbidden mixtures and morality and forbidden marriages. And all of these very practical actions bring us to higher levels of spirituality. But the area that I want to focus on, that on the one hand, it doesn't sound like a very practical requirement that the Torah is actually asking of us. But it's almost something that you'd say, well, you can't command. This is what the Torah is asking me to do. How can I be commanded to control my thoughts in this way? And the very interesting posuk that I'm referring to comes chapter 23, verse 8, and it says, Lo sesasev adomi ki ochichahu. You shall not despise an Edomite because he is your brother. Lo sesaev mitzri ki ger hayisal ba'artzo. You shall not despise an Egyptian because you were a stranger in his land. And just to hang on a moment to think that you've got to think about the background. You have these nations, the Edomites, the Egyptians, and they were nations that at various points treated the Bnei Israel, the children of Israel, very badly. But the Torah is telling us that we must not bear any kind of ill feeling in our hearts towards them. And when you think about, so in the case of the Egyptians, for example, the fact that the Jews were enslaved for hundreds of years and treated in the most harsh and murderous way. And we are specifically told here that we must not hate them. And I think that the Torah is really helping us. First of all, the fact that we can be commanded in this way means that it is possible for us to achieve that. And I think that when we think about all of the mitzvahs in general, and especially in this week's Sedra, as we have so many of them to deal with, we can think about the composite, the 613 mitzvahs. And these 613 mitzvahs according to the Medrash, correspond to the limbs in the body. So we have 248 mitzvahs aseh, 248 mitzvahs that require us to carry out an action in various situations and contexts. Not all of them will apply to everyone at any one time. And then we have 365 lo saseh, mitzvahs lo saseh, prohibitions. And all of these correspond to a particular limb in the body. And although we may be able to function without certain limbs and without other parts of our body, we actually cannot function at all, then we have to understand that every single part of our body serves an essential purpose and is contributing something somewhere to our overall health. And this commandment to not to hate, when you could argue that we have a reason to feel very negatively towards nations that treated us in this terrible way. But the Torah is saying you should not do that. And I think that we need to understand this commandment, this pasuk nestled in all among the various huge number of mitzvahs that we find in this week's Sedra, is really giving us a way to keep our own physical and spiritual health and integrity intact. It is enabling us to be free to serve Hashem when we let go of this hate. And I had the privilege of listening to a talk by somebody who referred to himself as Mr. Avi Shulman. He was a rabbi. He was one of the founders of the Seed organization, originally in the United States. And he was talking to a group of people. He was a wonderful educator and achieved so much during his lifetime. He passed away last year. And he went around the room and he asked people, what is their favorite prayer? And he got all different suggestions from the group in the room. And one woman told him quite a perhaps not such a famous or well used, well spoken prayer. It comes at the beginning of the nighttime Shema, and the full version of the nighttime Shema consists of this paragraph that I'm going to read out, and then the bracha of Hamapil, and then either the first paragraph of Shema or all three, and then a number of psukim of Tehillim and various. There's a quote Hamalach Hagoel, a pasuk from the Torah. And then again concluding with the first 4 chapters of Tehillim. But this first paragraph of the nighttime Shema that this lady was earmarking as her favorite prayer reads as follows, and I think it really helps us understand the benefit that accrues to us by the Torah saying, do not hate the Edomite, do not hate the Egyptian. So the prayer goes like this: Ribono shel olam, Master of the universe, Hareini mocha l'chol mi shehichis v'hiknit osi. Behold, I forgive anybody who has angered or irritated me, o shechoto konegdi, or who has sinned against me, bein begufi, bein b'mamoni, whether it's against my body, my person, or against my money, bein bechvodi, whether it's against my honor, bein bechol asheli, whether it's against anything that belongs to me, bein be'ones, whether this was done under compulsion, bein barotzon, or whether it was done on free will, bein b'shogeg, whether it was done unintentionally, bein b'mezid, whether it was done intentionally, bein b'dibur, whether this hurt to me was done through spoken words, bein b'maser, or actions, bein begilgul zeh, whether it's in the current incarnation, my physical self as I exist today, bein begilgul acher, or whether it's some kind of previous form of life that I may have been. L'chol ben adam, l'chol ben adam, any single person. This is the widest possible category of anybody who could have done something wrong to me. V'lo ye'onesh shum odom b'sibosi, and no person should be punished on my account. Yehi rotzen milfanecha Hashem Elokai. May it be the will from before you, Hashem, my God, for Elokei Avosai, God of my fathers. Shelo echete od, that I should not sin further. Velo echzor bohem, and I should not return to any previous sins. Velo oshuv od lahachisecha, and I shall not return further to make you angry. Velo e'eseh hara beinecha, and I shall not do anything evil in your eyes. Uma shechotasi lefanecha mechok barachamecha harabim. And what I have already sinned from before you, erase with your abundant wisdom. Avalo al yedei yisurim v'choloyim robim. But not through suffering or illnesses. Yehi lerotzon imre fi v'hegyon libi lefanecha Hashem Tsuri V'Goali. May it be the will of the words of my mouth and the logic of my heart before you, God, my rock and my redeemer. And this lady said, after she said this prayer, she feels like she's taken out all of the rubbish. It's as if there was the things that had happened during the day, people who had offended her, people who had done wrong things perhaps, in any possible context. And you see from the language of this paragraph, it's almost every eventuality that's being covered here, that anything that somebody has done wrong to me, I am going to let go of. And she says she feels like she's taking out the rubbish that has accumulated during the day, and she is physically putting all of that outside in the rubbish bin, and it is not going to sit on her chest like smelly, rotting rubbish. And really, she is the one, when she is able to do that, when she is able to let go of these resentments, in all, whether they're justified, whether somebody has done something with no valid reason whatsoever, it's all irrelevant. Because when you harbor these types of feelings of resentment, you are the one that is weighing yourself down with this terrible baggage. And so I think that we are getting this message, the words, this prayer that we say before we retire at night, and we are asking Hashem. We want to put our heads down on our pillow with a clear conscience. And we are saying to Hashem, before I do that, I am going to go through my own catalogue of resentments, of negative feelings towards other people, and I am going to forgive them. I'm going to wipe the slate completely clean. And once I've done that, I can do the same to you, Hashem. I can come before you and I can say, please forgive me for all of those kinds of transgressions that I may have done wittingly or unwittingly, and whether it's a justified action, whatever situation I've been in, I'm saying, please, Hashem, wipe my slates clean. But that liberation, that true freedom that we are able to achieve when we let go of these past resentments. And while we are a people of memory, and we are fast approaching the festival of Rosh Hashanah, which is called Yom HaZikaron in the Torah, which is the day of remembering, Yom Zichron Teruah. But the point of the matter is, we don't want to be stuck in the past, in the rut of the past. We are aware of the past, we learn from the past, we grow from the past, but we don't want to be pulled down by the resentments of the past. And I think that this is one of the many ways that the mitzvahs in this week's Sedra enables us to have that spiritual MOT, enables us to go forward in this incredible time of year, in this month of El, and prepare ourselves truly for the coming month of Tishri. And in this way, just this one focus where we are really being encouraged to understand that we are not powerless when it comes to controlling our emotions. We are able to work on ourselves. We are able to really train ourselves, whether it's by saying the words every night of this prayer. And the more we do it, the more it becomes part of our nature. It becomes ingrained and it becomes that much easier. And I think that the starting point is always to know that if the Torah is giving us a commandment, it is something that a commandment that's relevant to us. It is something that we are capable of. And so I think that this is a really good way to take a practical measure in our lives, on our daily lives, on our nightly lives before we retire at night, to be able to say these words, really mean them, connect to the pasuk that we read in this week's Torah, as it's, although there are so many other mitzvahs and so many other amazing aspects to focus on, and to really get the benefit of understanding how these mitzvahs apply to all of us at all times in different kinds of ways. But perhaps for this week, to just focus on this particular commandment about not to hate the Edomite, not to hate the Egyptian, and seeing how it has been incorporated into a nightly prayer, and it is something that can really help us deal with various challenges in our lives and help us lift off negative energy and enable us to really to make the most of this time of Elul. Thank you very much for listening and wishing everyone Shabbat Shalom.